Hello, my name is Anthony Henderson and I will be explaining perpetual motion. A simplified definition of perpetual motion would be a device or a mechanism that has no energy source, but it continuously moves forever and ever. With that being said, we could create our own energy and not have to rely on fossil fuels or any other natural powered energy that we have. But there's a big flaw in that, as you know, the first law of thermodynamics, or the law of conservation of energy, states that you can't create or destroy energy. Say you had a sailboat. Now, if you were on that sailboat with your own source of wind, that sailboat would not move, because but technically, since you're on that sailboat, you're a part of that sailboat. It can't create its own energy to push it. Here I have this perpetual motion desk toy. It has 6 different pegs here. On every other peg, there's a small magnet and there's a magnet at the top. So it basically pushes back and forth the magnet. It makes the wheel spin back and forth continuously, especially as it goes. So, and at the base is actually, it has a magnet in the center and there's a magnet at the bottom right here. Now, with this perpetual motion desk toy, I thought this was a very smart idea. If there was something that's moving itself continuously, this could potentially be a solution to our energy crisis. If we could find something that continuously moves by itself, we could, potentially exploit that to be able to create our own energy. As I looked more into why my little desk toy did what it does, I came to realize that it doesn't move by itself and it has to have an energy source. So here at the bottom, there are 4 battery slots. Now, this thing has been out of commission for the last couple of months, but once it has batteries in it, it stays on. Well, not on technically, because it's not being powered. As you can see, I can take the whole base off from the actual desk toy. It just is basically freely swinging here as it goes up, or as it swings down, the magnet pulls it and it's moving fast enough for it to go past the magnet or the magnetic field, and then it pushes it on the other side. So theoretically, the fact that it's swinging over that magnet alone, in theory, states, it should continue to move by itself forever and ever because of that magnetic push and pull. But it does not. Obviously, it'll just end up stopping like it's doing now. It does this little wiggle thing until the center of gravity is pulled back to that little magnetic field. You can start it up and it'll go for a little while because, like I said, the magnet's pushing it and pulling it. But once that force isn't strong enough and that center of gravity is pulling it more than that push and pull can overcome, it's going to go and just stop as it is. I thought this was genius. One of the first cases of perpetual motion was this guy named Bhaskar, and he made a wheel. Bhaskar's wheel is what they call it. It's basically a Ferris wheel type mechanical little device that moved off perpetual motion. It was a circle, it was a wheel with bottles of mercury attached to it with the exact same amount of mercury, but since it was slanted or at an angle, it turned and the water would pour in the same spot, so it should technically continue to move because of the weight of the water alone. The flaw in that is there's a couple of them. Friction, first of all, if you can see this, would turn the wheel, and after a while, the wheel would slowly stop. because of friction alone. No matter how much weight on it, it would still, unless the weight was enough to overcome the friction. Now, with that, there's another thing that comes into play. Gravity itself. There has to be a center of gravity. So, as it's turning, the center of gravity is changing from here to here. I think it's just to here to here. So, it'll come down here. All of this is being pulled down at a, the degree, the angle. And then this will be the stopping point, center of gravity again, which is overcome because of the other Mercury coming around. But it still has a center of gravity. So once even though the weight could potentially overcome the friction, there's still going to be a center of gravity that all of the Mercury is drawn to, no matter what angle it's at. And that in itself, those two things in itself would make that invention a bust. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't be able to overcome both of those things based on its design alone. I saw some guy do it on YouTube with a bike and like some normal, I guess, water bottles or soda bottles or something. And he claimed that it had been moving for over, 5 months before he had stopped it. But he didn't record it for 5 months, so I couldn't really say that was a fact or a fiction. I just know when I saw it on the video, it was running nonstop for a good 5 minutes. I think he said up to 10 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. But even so, that is it's not going to be a continuous motion forever. It's going to end up stopping. I mean, it was a bike wheel, so after a while, it'll rust or those bearings will wear out, and friction will definitely take that over. And although there are plenty of scientists and plenty of just normal people trying to figure out how to make this move by itself, anything basically move by itself without any energy source, any trickery, this is still just basically an idea that could be something one day. It's not a thing right now. It still defies all laws and science that says this should not be a thing. It definitely does that, and it never works ever. Joseph Newman was one of the first people to try to patent the idea of a perpetual motion device or machine, but he was ultimately denied because it undermined the law of thermodynamics and the conservation of energy, law of conservation of energy. And then they later on tested his device and it didn't work. So now any claim, or it's always been that, any claim of a new source of energy cannot be patented if it's quote unquote perpetual energy, because there's no such thing. I'm honestly intrigued by this idea. Although this little desk toy is just that, a toy, I feel if we could, master this and make it a real thing, we never have to worry about energy again. We could power places with simple machines or simple little devices that just spin forever or fall forever or pull forever, push forever by themselves, and we basically be out of a crisis. However, this is still just a theory or a work in progress idea. It's just that, an idea. The science behind this is just too sound to actually defy those laws of science. It's intriguing, to say the least. You could, if whoever discovers how to make this defy all laws of science are going to be a very rich person, because an invention like this would definitely save us from any kind of energy crisis that we'll ever have. Again, my name is Anthony, and this was my presentation on perpetual motion. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you guys were at least a little entertained, and I hope you guys have a great day.